Week 4 of our book study. We are closing it out. This has been a great book, hasn't it? Remember I said week 1 that it was a whole lot of like blinding flash of the obvious? Have people been experiencing that again and again and again? I certainly have, right? So we're going to be looking at the Divine Feminine. So I love that song. It's really beautiful. And one of the things that we know in Teach in Unity is that sometimes we do not get what we need from the outside world. Yes? Can I get an amen to that? And as much as people love us and we love them, they don't necessarily meet all of our needs all of the time. Can I get an amen for that? So one of the things we understand in Unity is that part of the muscle that we're building within ourselves is how can we meet those needs for ourselves? How can we provide that which we are needing for ourselves so that we have this empowered space of being? And that's what this whole book study has been about, the empowerment dynamic, right? And so briefest of overviews. So if you want to know more about this, check out the last 3 talks that I did. So I've moved us through the book progressively. But essentially, we're starting with the drama triangle, which is sadly how so many of us interact in our relationships. We're caught in this dynamic where one of us understands ourselves to be a victim, meaning that things are being done to us. It can be a person, it can be a situation. And that there is a persecutor. There is somebody who is doing it to us. And again, that can be a person or it can be a situation. And then there is the rescuer, the person or the thing that is going to somehow make it all better. And that can sometimes be addictions, right? Can be our rescuer. We can be struggling and we think that the alcohol is going to make it better. We think that the drugs are going to make it better. We think the caffeine is going to make it better. There's all different ways that the rescuer shows up in our life, in big ways and in small ways. So we shift and we play all the roles in this triangle. We are sometimes the rescuer. Often, if we are a victim and we see somebody as the persecutor, you can probably bet most of your money in the bank that they see themselves as the victim and you as their persecutor. And so we're caught in these dynamics. So what David Emerald has suggested is that we shift from being problem-oriented, the drama triangle, something's wrong, into being vision-oriented. And that means that, so notice that the victim is no longer on the bottom of the triangle, looking sad and dejected, but instead the creator is at the top of the triangle. And instead of a persecutor, what we get is a challenger. And we need challengers. We need people in our lives who challenge the assumptions that we're making about what we think about ourselves and the world. And then instead of a rescuer, what we have is a coach. And that's the person who stands not doing it for you because you're too weak or too incapable of doing it for yourself, but they coach you to understand the truth of who you actually are. And from that place, you get to discover something that perhaps you didn't know was possible in your own life. So when we're vision-focused, not problem-focused, it means that we're fed, we're inspired, we have passion. When we're problem-focused, we become anxious and worried, right? Oh, this isn't going to work. Oh, all that anxiety around what isn't working. So instead, we're focusing on the vision of what's possible. And this is where Unity principles come in, our field of infinite potential. We have infinite potential available to us in any moment. Are you aware of it? Or have you limited yourself down to, it can only go this way? And that way is a hot mess. There's something else possible. And so when we're vision focused, we have inspiration, we have passion, we have energy, And from that place, we can begin to take concrete baby steps towards fulfilling the vision in time and in space. And as we make those baby steps, we get more inspired and we get more energy, and that enables us to take a few more steps. And that's how we actually create transformation in our life, by being vision focused. So last week I talked about dynamic tension. I got my prop, right? And so if this is who I understand myself to be, and this is the vision, can you feel that there's tension there? And it requires something for us to be able to maintain this tension. And all too often, what we want to do to resolve the tension is let go of the vision. How many people in here, I asked this last week, how many people in here have had a vision for something, and yet it never manifested? Because the release of that tension means that you are staying exactly where you were. In order for that vision to become something, we have to move. We have to transform. And as we take those baby steps, the vision continues to expand. This is the part I really need you to understand, that the vision is not stagnant. The vision is not a fixed point. The vision is something that as we grow is growing with us. It is evolving with our understanding. So I talked last week about where is your vision actually coming from? Is your vision coming from your ego? From your sense of society's expectations about who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to achieve and how things are supposed to look? How many people in there have done that in their life? Whew. Or is it arising from the truth of who you are, our core value, authenticity? Is it arising from your authentic self, not from the societal masks, but from your most authentic self? And so the question that I ask myself over and over and over again, where am I creating from? Where am I creating my life from? Now, this quote from Albert Einstein, I think, really sums it up. He says, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. I can feel the affirmation of that coming from the room. So, what is that intuitive mind? And to me, the intuitive mind is the divine feminine. Amen. Now, I want to be really clear that the divine feminine is available to everyone. Women do not have a what on that? Monopoly, thank you. Women do not have a monopoly on the divine feminine. And in fact, Chris and I were watching, okay, you're going to get a little window into how I decompress. So I decompress by watching those love match shows. Like The Ultimatum and what's the other one? Love is Blind, right? I love Love is Blind, right? The theory behind that you're matching up with somebody that you never see, and then you watch it all just blow up when they do see each other. It's so what we are navigating in unity all the time, right? What we think something is, the vision we catch of it, and then there's the reality. And how do we navigate that? But one of the things that I've noticed over and over and over again as we're watching these shows is that the young men on these shows are so emotionally present. They are so the emotional intelligence that a lot of those young men are carrying in those shows. I constantly look at my wife and I'm like, wow, like they actually have it. And they're young, they're in their 20s. So that is a perfect example of the divine feminine showing up in a way that isn't just about gender. And I love the fact that these next generations are sort of blurring those lines about who is supposed to be responsible for what in our society. What if we're all responsible for all of it? Right? We're all responsible for all of it. So this divine feminine idea is really about, so I mentioned this a little bit in my prayer. So in some ways, here's the stereotype of the divine feminine. Receptive and open and gentle and caring and warm. Yeah? And there's nothing wrong with this being part of what it means to be the divine feminine, let me be clear. But there's also another aspect to it, which is the power and the strength and the resilience and the fierceness and the courage and the wit. Like, there's another side to the divine feminine that is so much bigger than some box that we may be putting ourselves into. So this is what we want to be able to access. And I honestly think Albert Einstein's quote is because we have given so much focus to the patriarchy. That we need to be integrated. It's not about the matriarchy over the patriarchy. It's about the fact that all of us can be all of this. And if we're all willing to embrace our intuitive wisdom, if we're all willing to step outside the linear, rational mind, then that is truly how we're going to create a world that works for everyone. It's not going to happen any other way. And to me, that's the tension. That tension is between my rational mind that needs to know, that needs to understand what is next, what does it look like? I need all of the information. I'm not going to move until I know. And then we have the vision, which is the intuitive sense of what's possible. So this is an invitation to activate your intuitive faculty. This is an invitation to step away from that logical, rational mind and to activate the intuition that you are. And I shared last week Michael Beckwith's life visioning process, and I've had a lot of response about this. So I think when I come back from my vacation, sometime in July and August, I will teach a workshop. We'll do an in-depth workshop on this visioning process, because I can tell you that this process, paired with affirmative prayer, is how I transformed my life. The two of those together blow your whole world right open in a really amazing way. So the questions that we're asking in the life visioning process is, what is the divine vision of my life? And we're not asking our rational, logical self this. We are stepping into the divine idea for our life. We ask, what must I become to manifest this vision? Because if we're fixed on who we are, and we're not willing to shift and grow and transform, then that vision is never going to show up. Because if it could show up through where you are right now in consciousness, it would. But you need to grow for that vision to actually show up. And what must I let go of? Because things that brought you perfectly to this moment in time are not necessarily what are going to carry you forward into the next understanding of the divine vision for your life. And we have to be willing to let it go. And I'm not saying that that isn't painful. When I let go of the dream, the vision of my Oscar and my Tony, right, sitting on my shelf, when I let go of that vision, that was actually when the next understanding emerged from within me, and nothing that I had done was wasted. I use everything that I mastered in my craft as an actor. That's what I'm bringing here right now. None of that was wasted, but I needed to shift and enlarge my focus to be able to understand that the vision was shifting. And then we ask ourselves, and I think this is the most important one, is what gifts and talents do I already have? Like right now, you have access to something within yourself that can actually activate your vision more fully, but you're not paying attention to it. You're not giving it the opportunity to show up for you in a real, concrete, powerful way. So when we do the life visioning process, it really does ask us to let go of the need to know. So as we're visioning, I like to describe it as catching pieces of something. So I'm catching a glimmer of something. I got a little bit of blue over here, a little bit of orange over here. I got a little bit of something. They look to be, do you have any idea what that is? No, right? We can guess. We can think we know what it is, but we do not know what it is yet. All we know is what's there right now. And if we ask ourselves, how do I fulfill that? I got to listen. What do I need to let go of? What do I have right now I can step into? What is it within me right now that can take a baby step? And as we continue to vision, all of a sudden, we start to get more pieces. More of the pieces start to become aware and available to us. And we continue to vision. We still have no idea what that is. But we're starting to get a sense of shape. We're starting to get a sense of structure. We're starting to get a sense of something that is showing up. And we continue to vision. We continue to take baby steps. We continue to ask, what do I need to become? What do I need to release? What is mine right now? And as we do that, eventually something emerges that didn't arise because did you think we were going there? Something arises that we get to go, ooh. In our own life, we get to go, ooh. And that's the energy of engaging in life itself. We are not on a fixed target. We are constantly growing, shifting, allowing, pivoting. Small pivots bring us to a completely different trajectory. Small pivot, the smallest baby step. And all of a sudden, 5 years down the line, you are in a completely different place in the galaxy than you would have been if you had stayed in that other position. So it's about spaciousness. It's about not needing to know. We've talked about moving from fear to faith. We don't make it happen. We don't make anything happen. Can you breathe into that with me? It's so un-American. We make it welcome. We make the vision welcome. That's the truth. Because what almost always will stand in our way is the fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear that we're going to lose something, the fear that it's not going to be enough, the fear that we're going to fail, the fear that we're not enough. And so, since David Emerald loves acronyms, I thought I'd give you one of my own. So, fear, false evidence appearing real. Whatever it is that fear is, that is not truth. How many people in here have spent time worrying about something, worrying it to death almost, and then it never actually happened at all? How much time did you waste? How much energy did you waste? How much of your focus and intention did you waste because you thought that the false evidence was actually real? So that is what we're being invited into. We're being invited to move from victim consciousness, where things happen to me and I am powerless, so that we can move into that Christ. I am divine feminine, the Sophia that we all are, that has intuitive wisdom available to us. I sometimes talk about it when I do the visioning. I'll do a whole talk called Breaking the Code. Because what you're learning when you're stepping into the visioning process is how to break the divine code that you personally are caught up in. When I vision and I see something that's a red balloon floating across the sky, now a red balloon means one thing to my consciousness, and a red balloon will mean something completely different to yours. When we practice visioning, we are cultivating our capacity to understand how we are speaking to ourselves, how the divinity, the wholeness that we are, is desperately trying to speak to the ego and say, over here, pay attention. This is what you're being invited into. So this fear piece, and I really want people to think about what this means in your own life. Holding on is believing there is only the past. Letting go is believing in the future. Really sit with that this week. Where are you only believing in the past? Ernest Holmes says our past is not our precedent. Do you really believe that? Are you willing to let go and actually believe in the future? To actually believe that something else is possible? You need to embrace your divine feminine. You need to say yes to that intuitive wisdom. It's going to live in each of you differently. For me, it lives right here, right in my belly. That is the place that my intuitive wisdom resides. And I can tell the difference when I'm actually embodied from this place within me versus just coming from this wonderful, don't get me wrong, I love my mind. Okay, I love my mind. I love my capacity to think. What we're looking for through this visioning process is a way to integrate them. As Einstein said, so that the mind is the servant to the intuition. It's not cut off, it's not eliminated. We're not getting rid of our capacity for linear rational thought. And in fact, we kind of need it to help support us in the baby steps. But we don't know what baby step to take if we don't first tap into the intuitive wisdom that is available to each one of us. Creator, challenger, coach. This is the model that we're all being invited to live from. This is the place, and it starts from that place of intuition. It does not start from the mind. The mind is always looking for what's wrong. We need to start from the awareness that there is wholeness, that there is love. Are things still going to go wrong? Oh, yeah. But then the mind can be in service to how we navigate that. I'll often, with my clients who I'm doing spiritual direction with, I'll ask them to play worst case scenario with me. What's the worst case scenario? Actually vocalize the thing that you are most afraid of. And usually, once you actually vocalize it, you realize that you have the capacity to navigate it. Let it go. If it happens, you'll deal with it. What if it doesn't happen? How much more energy do you have to show up in your life? Are you able to then live from vision and passion and inspiration and intuition? Doesn't that sound like more fun? I mean, to me, that just sounds like a lot more fun. And this is also healing when we are willing to embrace the divine feminine across the board. Then what that means is that we are also healing this planet. We are healing this planet from being totally stuck on rational logic as being the only way to move through the world. When we become the place where there is integration, we are modeling something. The way Jesus modeled something for us, we become something that is modeling that for the world. And that is how we actually transform this world. Yay. All right, yay. Can we get an amen on that? All right. So let's take this into some meditation. We're going to do a brief visioning process to see what you can access from that divine feminine, from that intuitive space from which you live, breathe, and have your beingness. So the invitation is whatever might have gotten stirred up, Just welcome all of it. That's a good sign. That's part of that dynamic tension, that dynamic creative tension. And as we quiet into the stillness at the very center of our being, the invitation is to just access the love that you are. Just allow that. And if it's hard to figure out what that love is for yourself, call to mind somebody who you know has loved you and see yourself through their eyes. See the truth of your being. So we're letting the judgments go, we're letting the worry go, we're letting the not enough and the we're just quieting all of that noise and chatter. And we're anchoring the love that each of us is. And it is from this space that we step into just a place of being willing to catch something new, something that may challenge our current life. Just being willing to open into the divine idea for your life right now. What does that look like and feel like? What's the texture of it? Is there a word? Maybe there's a song that's speaking to you. What is that divine vision that is calling, that has your name written all over it? Nobody else can do or be what you are being called to do and be. And as you breathe in that divine vision, the idea is to just ask, what do I need to become? What needs to grow within me? What capacities, what abilities do I need in order for that vision to be made manifest? And what do I need to let go of? What is not serving me to actually live into this vision? What am I being invited to release so that I can believe in the future? And what are the gifts and talents right now? Right now, I already am, I know them, I have them, that I can bring in service to this divine vision for my life. And as we rest in the silence for a few moments, the invitation is to just to allow yourself to listen and to be a welcoming space for that divine vision, what you are becoming, what you are releasing, and what you already have. And let's rest together here for a few moments in the silence. How grateful I am for this opportunity to listen, to allow the intuitive wisdom that is my birthright, that is your birthright, to reveal itself in ways that we can understand. Seeing and knowing that each one of us continues to allow this to just unfurl within us with ease and grace. And that from this place of intuitive wisdom, we are each guided effortlessly to take one baby step. One step that will encourage this vision to show up in time and in space, that will fuel our inspiration and our passion, which will allow us to take another baby step. We welcome the process. That is the invitation of the unfolding of the divine idea that is our life. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. So our affirmation today, which I'll invite you to repeat after me, I am consciously living a fully inspired life. Can we know this? Vivo conscientemente una vida totalmente inspirada. And so it is. Amen.